Aisha Patel says sometimes hardworking people, when they take rest, they feel overthinking. Mind mind goes to past and live in some particular moment. But it's just an illusion. It's kind of psychological issue. How to overcome? Are you asking me, Aisha, how to overcome not to daydream, not to overthink? There are a bunch of questions here, but I try to say something about one angle of it, and then you can twig it, and then we can continue. Thank you, Prince, but I have better things to do. So getting back to Aisha, when you think you're overthinking, sometimes it's just overthinking. But sometimes it's called transient thoughts. There are thoughts that really have no basis to worry you, but it shows up in your mind. And you wonder, what are these thoughts? Why is it here? What does it mean? Does it mean that I wanted it to be here? Does it mean that I'm interested in that thought? Does it mean that I initiated that thought? Then how else did it get into my screen? You know, what you see, the screen. But if you go on my site, one of my books called Transient Thoughts and Me, that explains quite a bit. And there's a sample chapter there that you can see if that pertains to your question or not. But the table of contents is there and can be helpful. But the transient thoughts, you know, every one of us is like a radio receiver. Our mind is like a radio receiver. And when you go through the dial of the radio, as you move it, there are different receptions, you receive signals and programs from different stations around the world. Now, does that mean that your radio produced that program that you happen to be hearing it by having changed the dial to a certain number? It's not your radio. Your radio is just receiving a program that has been initiated from some station somewhere in the world. Has nothing to do with you actually having produced it. But you are able to hear it. And if you change the dial, you will hear a different program. Same with TV. If you change the dial, you see different pictures and different programs from different parts of the world, especially nowadays that you can just have access to all kinds of thousands of different channels around the world. But as you find these channels on the screen of your TV, does that mean you produce that program, that picture? You produce that debate? You produce that story, that movie? No. You're just a receiver. Your television, your radio is just a receiver. It's not responsible for what comes to it. It's only receiving, has the capability of receiving it. It doesn't mean that you approve of that program. It doesn't mean that you agree with it. It doesn't mean that you enjoy it. It doesn't mean you wanted it to be there. You just happen to have an apparatus that receives and is capable on translating and receiving and putting it on a screen or making you hear it. Same thing with our mind. We have this ability to receive all kinds of thoughts, pictures and thoughts that somehow directly or indirectly you have been exposed to it. You read it in the news, turns into a picture. You heard it on the radio. You saw it in a movie. You saw it in the grave in the grapevines, through the grapevines, or through some story, whatever it was, all these thoughts is available in the collective consciousness of the universe. And you have a receiver. And these thoughts may appear one way or another on your receiver. But that doesn't mean you're part of it, or you enjoy it, or you chose it, or represents you. Could be there. So, overthinking sometimes is just a transient thoughts that shows up. You pay no attention to it. And when you overthink, it's because simply our mind is designed to look for trouble, because it's our safety net, it's our security system. And the security system is designed, programmed to look for trouble in order to diffuse it, to avoid it. That's why our mind during the day constantly goes through all kinds of things that will never happen. But we try to think of it, conjure it up, and then find remedy for it, and try to diffuse it before it has even happened. That is pretty much what we do with our lives, and create fear. And that's how fear creates, when you compare something that it was with what it is, and if it will be the same or it will be changed differently. Let's say I was hungry last night. I don't know if I'm hungry. I don't know if I'll be hungry this afternoon. I hope I'll have food for tomorrow. So you created a fear out of something that you're comparing it with the past or what it will be in the future. But none of them really has happened. It's only your mind that looks for trouble and tries to foresee possibilities and try to diffuse things before it happens. It's just your mechanism. So thinking over on things, it doesn't mean you should be alarmed with it, because it's just that. You know, you're just creating trouble because that's the job of your mind. Try to see, can I find the trouble? Can I find something hazardous? Let me clean everything to make everything good for him or her. So when you compare things with how it was, will it be still the same, or what will it be tomorrow? You're creating comparison of how things were, it will be, or it is, and then you create a little bit of fear in yourself. Otherwise, there is no fear. Fear doesn't exist. We're not talking about saving yourself from wild animals or a truck hitting you, or you got to jump away. These are instinctive things that, you know, saves you from these hazards. But we're talking about how our mind actually creates fear out of nothing by worrying about, which that comes by comparing things, how it was. I had food yesterday. Will I have food this afternoon? Will it be the same tomorrow? What will I had the job and good money? Will I still have it today, or will I have it tomorrow? I have it today. Will I have it tomorrow? All these comparisons creates that fear. Very basically said, but elaborately I've explained it in one of the videos about fear. So you can go to the YouTube channel and check it out. So I hope that will be something for you to think about, Aisha. I don't know if I've answered your question completely or not. Okay, now we have Brian.